Marcus Aurelius ruled as the Roman emperor from 161 CE to 180 CE. Known as the last of the 5 good emperors, Aurelius was not born into power, but rather was adopted. His biological father died when he was only 3 years old. The Rome emperor of the time, Hadrian, gave Marcus his favor. Hadrian instructed his adopted son, Antoninus Pius, to adopt Marcus as his son. Hence, at the age of 17, Marcus became the son of Antoninus, and also a prospective heir to the Roman throne. In 145 CE, he married the emperor's daughter, Faustina, and the couple went to have 14 children. As a boy, Aurelius was taught by various private tutors, and he became particularly interested in philosophy. It is even said that he went so far as to take on the dress and behavior of a philosopher by sleeping on the floor at night, which apparently didn't make his royal mother very happy. Marcus was a brilliant student and began learning Greek and Latin at a very early age. His interests were soon piqued by philosophy, and his passion for reading made him a great intellectual pursuer of Stoicism, which influenced him to form his ideology based on logic, fate, and self-control. The period of 160s is marked as a constant struggle and a battle for the Roman Empire. During these difficult times for the empire, in 161 CE, Marcus's adoptive father, Antoninus Pius, passed away. Everyone looked towards Marcus Aurelius as he had assumed immense authority in his rapid succession to power, and thus he was the most ideal candidate as monarch. Marcus, being as wise as he was, assumed his role as emperor by forming a joint rule with his brother, Lucius Verus. This turned out to be an extremely fruitful venture. Together, the both emperors fought a 5-year-long battle against the Parthians and returned victorious. But when they returned to Rome in triumph, the legions brought back with them a plague that would ravage the empire. In a weakened state, the empire fell victim to new incursion from Germanic tribes, who crossed the frontier at will. Another 3 years would pass before Aurelius in 169 CE would have enough strength and resources to deal with the Germanic invaders. Aurelius subsequently spent 11 years of his life fighting on the northern frontiers. Also, his brother Lucius Verus died of a stroke on the frontier in 169 CE. Marcus developed a keen military mind during his 11 years at war. He menaced and hammered the German tribes without relent, pushing them back further and further year after year. He was so good at his role as commander-in-chief that when he died, the legions genuinely grieved, mourning the loss of a great emperor's soldier. Even during the 11 long years at war, not a day possibly went by that he didn't think about his one true passion, philosophy. When Marcus wasn't out wielding his sword in battle or in his tent sorting out administrative paperwork that poured on his desk, he took time out to write a philosophical diary in an attempt to understand and crack the underlying code of existence. His diary would become a profoundly influential work on how one should live their life. His written collections in his diary were later titled as The Meditations. The Meditations offer a glimpse into his mind, his habits, and his approach to life. The very act of writing the Meditations, which took him at least 10 years, is evidence to his commitment to habit, consistency, and improvement. The book discusses discipline and rationality and proposes 3 rules formulated by Aurelius: being content with fate, being just in behavior towards others, and using perception while making decisions. The book is highlighted with self-critical and self-advisory phrases that Marcus seems to direct at himself, such as wipe out impression, check impulse, quench desire, do nothing at random, those who now bury will soon be buried. Even today, thousands of copies of his meditations are sold worldwide, reminding us of the intelligence of a man who once said, "If any man can prove that any action or idea of mine is wrong, I will accept the fact gladly. I only seek the truth which never injured anyone." What I find fascinating is that there is this hell of a man whose reign was unfortunately seriously troubled by a series of natural disasters such as plagues, floods, and famines, as well as by conspiracies, corruption, and barbarian invasion. He is on a constant war for 11 years, yet still is such a stable man who looks to seek the truth which never injured anyone. Just wow. All these struggles in his life, and yet this man ranks among the most respected and influential emperors. There is a reason he was titled one of the 5 good emperors in the Roman history. Although he had no way of knowing that history would name him as one of the 5 good emperors, what Marcus Aurelius wanted more than anything was to rule like his predecessors. Growing up in the Antonine age, he was given every opportunity to follow in the footsteps of his predecessors. He was trained as a kind-hearted administrator, living and ruling by the principles of Stoic philosophy that he very much admired. Unfortunately, what he got was a never-ending cycle of violence on the frontiers. This, however, did not deter him, as he courageously accepted the role that the Roman gods had chosen for him, and gathered up his armor and rode to the defense of the empire. Throughout various examples in his life, Marcus's character can be observed as very humbling. He formed a joint rule with his brother, whereas in history there have been countless stories of brothers fighting each other for power. Also, him sleeping on the floor gives the impression that Aurelius had a natural curiosity and a desire to be a self-experimenter. If you told him real philosophers sleep on the floor, he wanted to try it out for himself. He was indeed a great emperor, strategist, fighter, ruler, and most importantly, a great philosopher. Aurelius believed that philosophy wasn't merely something to think about, but that it should also be practiced. It shapes the human being from inside out. Everything starts with a thought, and that thought becomes a reality. I would like to suggest to all of you to read the Meditations from Marcus Aurelius. It is a great book. Here are some of my favorite writings from the Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Do not indulge in dreams of having what you have not, but reckon up the chief of the blessings you do possess, and then thankfully remember how you would crave for them if they were not yours. The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart. When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they can't tell good from evil, but I have seen the beauty of good and the ugliness of evil, and have recognized that the wrongdoer has a nature related to my own, not of the same blood and birth, but the same mind, and possessing a share of the divine. And so none of them can hurt me. No one can implicate me in ugliness, nor can I feel angry at my relative or hate him. We were born to work together like feet, hands, and eyes, like the 2 rows of the teeth, upper and lower. To obstruct each other is unnatural. To feel anger at someone, to turn your back on him, these are unnatural. We ought to consider not only that our life is daily wasting away, and a smaller part of it is left, but another thing also must be taken into account, that if a man should live longer, it is quite uncertain whether the understanding will still continue sufficient for the comprehension of things, and retain the power of contemplation which strives to acquire the knowledge of the divine and the human. For if we shall begin to fail into dotage, perspiration and nutrition and imagination and appetite, and whatever else there is of the kind will not fail, but the power of making use of ourselves and filling up the measure of our duty, and clearly separating all appearances, and considering whether man should now depart from life, and whatever else of the kind absolutely requires a disciplined reason, all this is already extinguished. We must make haste then, not only because we are daily nearer to death, but also because the conception of things and the understanding of them cease first. I hope you found this video helpful. I will be making further self-improvement and philosophical videos on this channel. so subscribe not to miss out. If you liked my videos, please like, comment and share. Thank you for watching.